What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How are you doing? You already know what it is. Welcome to another episode of the Geek Master, where we love all things geek more than Kylo Ren loves to throw temper tantrums and slice up shit with lightsabers. As usual, I'm your wannabe Sith Lord host, Cassius Samuels, and right now I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts on Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, which I have to say was a pretty good movie all in all. But before we get started, please be informed right here in the beginning that there are going to be massive spoilers in this video. If you don't like spoilers, please turn around. Do not pass go. If you haven't seen the movie, please just don't listen any further. Go watch the movie for yourself and then come back afterward and check this video out. But for everyone else who's still here, let's go ahead and dive right in. So with that being said, starting with the cast, I have to say, honestly, the cast was phenomenal to me. The characters all had great chemistry, and it was easy to empathize with all of them as well. So far, my favorite character is Rey, though, with BB-8 coming in as a close second. In fact, I think I love BB-8 so much, I might try to build one of my own, like I did when I was a kid, when I tried to make my own R2-D2 out of a broken carpet shampooer that I found in the trash. Like, for real, I'm really that much of a geek. But for real, back on topic, for what the story actually delivered, I thought writers did a decent job setting the stage for the rest of the trilogy going forward with the new characters and all that. But at the same time, I thought that they kind of missed a lot of opportunities to quickly explain some of the things that would have made this story more coherent as they were telling it. Truth be told though, the story of this movie didn't really explain a whole lot of the underlying subplots and stuff, like how Han and Chewie have been surviving and what they've been up to for the last 30 years, or the history of the New Republic and the First Order and the Knights of Ren, etc. The movie just mainly focused on developing the new cast, which is something I wasn't expecting or hoping for, but I understand in a way why they took that approach in the end, so I'm not mad. Please don't get it confused. I may be a little let down because I'm an impatient person who doesn't want to wait another year and a half to get simple answers to simple questions, but I'm not mad. For real though, on the flip side, I can't even lie. I love the elements of the story that came out of nostalgic fan service. For instance, like the dialogue between Han and Leia when they were reunited for the first time after their apparent separation, which I assume has something to do with Kylo, aka Ben Solo's fall to the dark side. I was kind of surprised at how much the humor in this movie made me appreciate the movie more, because it's honestly like hands down the funniest Star Wars movie to ever be conceived in my opinion at this point, which I'm not sure is kind of the right feel for a Star Wars movie, but nonetheless I still laughed my ass off at this movie, just keeping it real. Characters like Finn and BB-8, they really made it easy for me to become immersed in the overall plot, and it was slick writing in my opinion, even if it was a product of Disney's influence. The special effects were of course superlative in every way, as top-of-the-line CGI delivered breathtaking visual representations of things that we love to imagine from the Star Wars universe. Everything from X-Wings to planet-sized space stations capable of wiping out multiple planets at one time. Yeah, it gets deep. Star killer, baby. Hashtag. But not only were the visual effects on point, I thought the music score was also phenomenal outside of the key points where it felt kind of cheesy, and also at other key points where it felt like the score was underemphasized as well. The cinematography was spectacular, and I honestly cannot give enough praise to the engineers, the producers, the directors, and whoever else was involved piecing together such a vivid cinematic viewing experience. It was truly magnificent to behold from a just straight fanboy perspective. Now, here we are at the part of the discussion where we talk about how good the movie was, but was not perfect by any means. This is the part of the discussion where we talk about criticisms and all the stuff that makes me a Sith Lord podcaster, because I'm going to point out all the things that I felt were negative about this film in a short form. And I'm not even going to point out all the things that I saw that were negative. It's just going to be the major points, because I can really point out a lot, but I'm not going to, because it's going to make me sound like I'm trying to throw shade on Disney and trying to throw shade on anybody who is affiliated with this movie. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to highlight the major points that I think we should all be in agreement about being fucked up. And I'm going to try to do my best to articulate these criticisms as accurately and as plainly as possible, so there's no confusion. As I already pointed out earlier, I found the writing of the story to be very satisfactory as far as the setup and all that. You know, there were a few things that didn't jive with me when it was all said and done, like I've already covered, but whatever. And if no one else, the whole point I'm trying to make right now is that if no one else will come out and tell you, I will, and say flat out that the bulk of this movie was a perfect demonstration in lazy writing on one aspect. The things that I'm getting ready to point out not only prove that the movie is basically like a Puff Daddy remix version of Star Wars A New Hope, but it also proves that people will willingly accept this bullshit and make excuses as to why it's okay for Hollywood to basically force feed us the same formulas over and over to, I guess, justify trying to make mainstream profits, despite the fact that they're not delivering any quality content. I mean, if you can't tell by now how these formulas just basically make movies seem so redundant these days. Like I say it all the time, innovation kill imagination these days. Like the progress of technology has really made the substance of stories decrease dramatically, and people are just accepting and making excuses for it when it's not justified. And that's why you should be glad to have people like me here to talk shit, to keep everybody in check and keep everybody here grounded, thinking, hey, it really may not be as good as it looks. This may not be what it seems. That's what I'm here for. Don't shoot the messenger. Anyway, back on track. I'm sorry to break it to all you Star Wars cult member fanatics, but The Force Awakens should have been called Disney's New Hope, because it basically was George Lucas's New Hope movie all over again, except for the fact that they didn't figure out a way to call it A New Hope. Don't believe me? Well then, let me point out how the story started off centered around a droid carrying valuable information, just like in A New Hope when Princess Leia was on a ship that got boarded by Darth Vader. Or how there was another planet-sized doomsday weapon that needed to be destroyed by the Resistance, which was done by Luke Skywalker at the end, where he shot the proton torpedo down the shaft and blew up the Death Star or whatever. And hell, they even found a way to make sure Han Solo owed some people some money. I mean, they basically went into every different aspect of the New Hope and incorporated it into this movie some way or another, and that's just kind of lazy to me. I mean, to be real, I could go on and on about how this movie copied The New Hope in so many other different places, like I was trying to say, but I won't. I just want to point out that if they weren't wasting time with unoriginal, superfluous storytelling, they could be writing a brand new story that gives a new generation of Star Wars fans something to call their own in this magnificent ongoing saga of science fiction fantasy. Because as of now, all they're going to get is old fans like myself just standing around going, back in my day, Star Wars was better. You can't tell me shit either, little motherfucker, because your generation couldn't even come up with a story of their own, so please have a seat. I mean, really, that's what I was saying, and they call me Old Man Cassius for a reason. I mean, what are they going to say in response to that? Keep it real. There were some other things that bothered me as well in this movie, but they aren't really serious enough to talk about at this juncture. But something that really bothered me was the Rey situation, as far as her basically becoming a Super Saiyan Jedi in like 5 minutes of total screen time when you add it all up. I was like flabbergasted, because to me it was 100% unequivocally preposterous to me that Rey was able to utilize the Jedi mind trick technique to escape. And on top of that, it was even more preposterous to me that she defeated an experienced dark side user in lightsaber combat as an untrained Force user. Like, come on, man. First of all, Jedi mind tricks are not supposed to be a skill that is easily attainable. Like Han Solo told Finn at one point in the movie, that's not how the Force works, bro. It takes great effort and training from all my knowledge and understanding of Star Wars to learn how to subdue another sentient being's free will through the Force. It's not like you can just pretend like, hey, oh, I didn't know that there was the Force yesterday. Today I know it's the Force. That means I know how to use the Jedi mind trick because I heard stories about the Jedi mind trick. Like, that's not how it works. You know what I mean? It takes training, it takes guidance, it takes teaching and all that good stuff. And it was just utterly preposterous to see that get overlooked and downplayed just so Rey could make a final lightsaber showdown with Kylo Ren. They should have just strayed away from that 100%. Second of all, I would just come out and say, I think it's total bullshit that Rey, as an untrained Force user, was able to defeat Kylo Ren, who's an experienced Force user, in a lightsaber duel. Think about it. Going off the flashback vision Rey had, we know that Kylo has been trained by Luke. And from there to current day, we know that Kylo has begun receiving tutelage from a powerful master of the dark side in the form of Supreme Commander Snoke. So please tell me, how the fuck can Rey possibly beat Kylo one-on-one with no training whatsoever? Cracks me up because fanboys are out here really trying to say crazy shit like Rey was able to win this fight with Kylo because he was wounded. Bullshit. If you're an avid Star Wars fanboy like me, who actually pays attention to the canonical universe and pays attention to consistency, you would know better than to make a statement like that. Because it's been established that dark side users are able to sustain themselves through injury by using the Force, especially in combat. This has been seen in the animated Clone Wars series, which is considered canon, multiple times, but most notably has been seen with Savage Opress and Darth Maul. So that's really not an excuse in my mind. And even if being wounded was an acceptable, viable excuse for Kylo in this situation, it can only get you so far, because it's not like he couldn't have just force choked Rey and Finn both. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about a character who could freeze blaster bolts in midair, use the Force to read people's minds, and instill fear in everyone around him by making them think he was basically the second coming of Darth Vader. Like, how the fuck is Rey, who is somebody who never been off the planet of Jakku to her recent memory or anything that she's aware of, supposed to defeat this Imperial badass because she knows how to fight with a stick? Like, get the fuck out of here. That doesn't even sound realistic in a world that's based on fantasy fiction. To me, there's no way that Rey wins that fight, and there's no way that Finn lives to tell the story about his lightsaber fight either. I keep hearing people say shit like, well, Rey knows how to fight with the staff already, so it's reasonable to think that after tapping into the Force, you know, awakening the Force, she was able to defeat a wounded Kylo with a lightsaber. And all I have to say to that is, negative, Ghostrider. Dueling with lightsabers is like fencing, and fighting with staffs is like stick fighting in martial arts. It's two completely different things. Saying Rey can fight with lightsabers just because she can fight with a staff and beat up street brawlers on Jakku is like me saying I'm good at beating my kids at basketball, so that must mean I'm good at beating professional NFL players at football. Just because I can cross my kids on the court and break their ankles doesn't mean I can catch a touchdown pass from Richard Sherman while he's covering me in the end zone. It's a logical fallacy, and it needs to be put to rest right now. Not only is it a logical fallacy, it perfectly illustrates an analogy where you're trying to say that just because Rey can do this one thing, it automatically translates over to her being able to do something else. Just because that she is evidently of some kind of lineage that I think is Skywalker, but it could be anything else. But she's evidently strong in the Force regardless of her connections of family and heritage. But for you to think that just because she has a strong connection to the Force and she knows how to fight with a staff, that means she could beat Kylo Ren in a lightsaber battle. Like, that shit don't make no sense. That is kind of like saying, okay, Anakin from episode 1 when he was just a little kid, you know, he was powerful as fuck with the Force. Let's just give him a lightsaber, right? And tell him how powerful he is with the Force and tell him how dope he is, and then send him into battle with Yoda and let him beat Yoda. That's how crazy that sounds. For me, since I'm basically borderline obsessed with this whole Jedi, Sith, Force, user mythology stuff since I can remember all the way back to being a young blood, I could go on forever. But in the interest of keeping this video compressed into a digestible format, I'm not going to go on forever because I guess no one will listen to the channel beyond that. There is a lot to unpack for this movie, and I guess I'm just gonna have to make multiple videos to cover my entire thought process and mental perspective as far as the interpretation of the movie goes. But nonetheless, despite the flaws of this movie, like I said earlier, I still think overall it was a great movie. I wish there was more Vader and less whiny Anakin from the prequels as far as Kylo's character goes, and I wish there was more story development as far as the new subplots go. And I also wish that there were more plausible and consistent content incorporated into the story that was concerning this awakening of the Force. But I understand why none of this happened, because they're basically just trying to make people come back for more, basically. Characters like Phasma, who really had no impact on the story, and kind of just reminded me of like characters like Boba Fett. You know, you stand there, you look cool, you have a couple cool lines, you point your gun, and you're all of a sudden a cool character. You know, I just kind of seen a lot of that going on, and with the recycled content that I outlined earlier, it just turned me off in a lot of ways. But in the end, it was still a very entertaining movie filled with humor, nostalgia, mystery, and of course lots of eye candy. I give it an honest 7 out of 10, and I'm pretty much gonna rank it, I don't know, probably 5th all time on my list of Star Wars movies. But anyway, who cares what the fuck I think? This ain't about me. It ain't just about me anyway. It's about all of us, and together we are the machine that gets shit done. So let's talk about it. I mean, how did you feel about the movie? Where do you rank it with the other Star Wars flicks? Leave a comment down below. Let me know how you feel. And as always, please drop a like if you found any entertainment value in this video. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you want to stay tuned to the stupid shit that I do, please look me up on Facebook at the Geek Master. That's all I got for y'all today. I will holler at you beautiful Padawans later. I love y'all. Peace out. Mwah. Much love.